vulnerable road.
Question number 12, Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister for Social Development. Does she stand by her statement with regard to the Community Response Fund that, quote, "We listened to concerns that the fund was due to finish, the effects of the recession were still being felt, so we're putting more funding in for 2011 and 12.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, yes, and that's why 2011 and 12, under budget 2011, we invested funding for a further 3 rounds, 631 grants, totalling over $23.9 million.
Supplementary to the Minister. Is she aware that for the final round of the Community Response Fund, there were almost 500 applications, the second highest of all 9 rounds, and almost 200 more than the first? If so, what evidence has she received to indicate the effects of the recession and the need for the Community Response Fund no longer exists?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, yes, I am aware of the number of applications that were made for the final round, and I think it's that because people knew it was the final round.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. Does she believe that the need caused by the recession when she brought the Community Response Fund into place still exists?
Mr. Speaker, I think that things have improved. I think I've been incredibly clear with community organisations that that fund, we always said it was time limited, that it was established by the government in recognition of the additional pressures. I think that the fund could have gone on forever. As a consequence, we have said that it was time limited, and we're now progressing with the next stage of our work with working with NGOs and contracting.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. Does she acknowledge that the Community Response Fund was not her coming to the rescue of community organisations in a recession with a discretionary pot of money, but a bridge to deal with the fact that she canned Labour's pathways to partnership?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, I think if we look at the more than 2,700 applications for the Community Response Fund, if we acknowledge that nearly $79 million was paid out to those organisations, it has been very successful. It has covered a gap. However, we have been incredibly clear and transparent that it is a time-limited fund to get people through the worst of it.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. What does she intend to do to address the gap faced by hundreds of groups like Women's Refuge, who after spending a year working with MSD on a resolution over future funding, received notice that contracts would be arbitrarily rolled over, leaving 16 refuges without any Community Response Fund or family-centred services funding?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, it's not me that has responsibility for funding to the Women's Refuge, as the member should know by now. It's my Associate Minister Turia. What I will say, though, under the...
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I think the Minister is trying to divert responsibility. She, as the Primary Minister, gives the delegations and actually retains the overall responsibility.
Well, order. It's not up to us to dispute with ministers who is responsible for certain matters. The ministers, I have to take ministers' word on who is responsible. But the order. The minister was still going to answer the question. I think she just pointed out she was not primarily responsible for that aspect, but I didn't think she was going to avoid answering the question as a consequence. The Right Honourable Winston Peters' point of order.
Point of order, Speaker. It was very clear from this end of the House that the Honourable Jacinda Ardern takes the same view, that this is a joke, that she's passing it back on to her.
Order. That's definitely not a point of order. That is perfectly clear from this end of the House. The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, I shall continue. As the member would have seen in estimates, we are in quite a major transform of how we contract with NGOs, investing in services for outcomes. You're going to be more details on that in the upcoming weeks. In the budget, the member would have seen the Capability Investment Resource, which is a fund of about $31.6 million that is going to be going into those organisations that is under the responsibility of the Deputy Chief Executive or Family and Community Services.
And that brings to a close questions for oral answer. Point of order, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr. Speaker, I just seek leave to correct a description of a tabling document.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
Thank you. The MED document, sir, that I sought leave to table to question 6 is authoritative and authentic, but it was emailed to me as a discrete PDF individual document. However, I'm now advised that its originating source was indeed the MED website, and I feel I'm duty-bound to correct that. It is authoritative, it is accurate, sir.
Order. I thank the member for correcting that, because I did ask the member directly whether it was from the website, and the member said it wasn't, so I appreciate that being corrected. I might just check with did the House grant leave for that document to be? It did. No, if the House granted leave for it to be tabled, that's fine. No, order. The House granted leave for it to be tabled. I don't think it's the end of the world. The member has corrected an error that he made in describing the document. All I ask members to be careful in the future to make sure when they describe documents to make sure that description is correct. The point of order, right honourable
Yes, Mr. Speaker, to help the beleaguered, desperate exporters of this country, I seek leave. I seek leave.
Order. No. When members seek leave to do anything, they don't have a little speech about anything prior to it. Now, I'm happy to let the member seek leave for what he wishes to seek leave for, but he doesn't preempt his seeking leave with a little speech. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to have my bill on the Reserve Bank withdrawn from the ballot box and presented to Parliament right now.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any objection? There is objection. Order. I'm on my feet. Colleagues, I've received a letter from Andrew Little,